what guy that has a six-pack doesn't want to show that shit off, right?
Hell yeah.
Well, I got to the point where I'm like, nope, shirt's staying on. Don't want to show that off. And so I was pretty unhealthy. Probably a lot of truck
Very
drivers
unhealthy.
I didn't feel good. I was lethargic. I would sleep for 8-9 hours and still want more sleep, right? My belly fat went away. Gas went away. Bloating went away. Joint pain went away.
It's been a big help.
I had a lot of I can't believe this happened. And well, good morning, everyone. It is Friday morning, about 7 in the morning in Nebraska here. And today I'm going to go over week 4. This is 4 weeks of carnivore for me, strict carnivore. Some of the benefits I've seen. Now, most of these benefits will be benefits I've seen over the years of carnivore, not just these 4 weeks of strict carnivore, because if you guys have seen my other videos, I've explained that I've been mostly carnivore for the last few years. Going strict for, these last 30 days is not something I've done before, but I've been, 80, 90% carnivore for several years, and I have seen some benefits, and a lot of these benefits were not strictly carnivore. They were several tiers of getting healthier with cutting out bad foods. And so I'll go over that again. I've went over that before in other videos, but first, I don't really have a good beat on what year it was that I started this, but I cut out grains and seed oils as the first start to try to get healthier. At that time, I had come out of the oil field. I had done 3 years in the oil field in trucking. I knew I was going to get unhealthy because I was told myself I was going to start my business. I was going to buy a truck. I was going to go to the oil field and I was going to work my ass off, and I was going to let my health fall a little bit for the purpose of building a business. And that definitely happened. My health fell. I started getting fat. I started getting unhealthy. I started getting bloated. I started getting joint pain, all that stuff. Because previous to that, I was eating what I thought at the time was fairly healthy, but I was in the gym a lot. I had a regular job driving truck, but it was more or less a local regular job in the oil field, and I was home every night and off on the weekends. And I was in the gym, I always say 8 times a day, or 8 times a week, which was pretty true. I'd go like 4 days throughout the week, I'd go twice a day. And then occasionally I'd go once a day on some days of the week. But pretty often I was in the gym 8 days a week. 8 times a week, not 8 days. So 8 times a week, I was in the gym a lot. And that was right after my divorce, and I had gotten really fit, and I was eating all kinds of vegetables, but very healthy vegetables. You eat broccoli, your asparagus, your sweet potato, your onions, all that stuff, which I think is a pretty good diet, ultimately. So I came out of that, bought the truck, went to the oil field, knew I was going to get unhealthy and fat. That happened. 3 years of oil field, eating everything, very little gym. And then when I came out of the oil field, went into over the road like I'm doing now, bought a flatbed. After listening to Kevin Rutherford, it really got me focused on, took me a while. It took me well over a year of listening to him about diet before I just kept saying, oh, whatever. I'm listening to him for the advice on the trucking stuff, not the diet. And he'd fill in diet stuff. And I'm like, oh, geez, here we go. Well, eventually I started listening, and I said, you know what? He kind of had a challenge that he was doing at the time where he's like, just try cutting out grains for a week and see how you feel. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's pretty easy while you're on the road. Don't eat a grain. I don't know, bread, basically. And I had already done, in my gym days, I had already done that kind of. I mostly cut out grains naturally just to avoid the bad carbohydrates, right? So it wasn't that hard for me to cut out grains. I was pretty used to not eating bread. Now, during my gym days, I would be pretty strict on my good gym diet, which back then it was low fat, very lean protein, and lots of vegetables. Lots of carbs and lean protein. That got me very, very ripped, but it also got my joints to hurt. I'm sorry, I'm kind of skipping around here, but so I did that. I went, got rid of grains and got rid of seed oils. And I was planning on doing it for a week or two, and I just never stopped. It's just, I felt so good, and he was right. I just never stopped. And I saw a lot of health benefits from that, which wasn't shocking to me because, like I said, in my gym days, I kind of naturally cut out breads. And, so I started seeing some health benefits. And then I went a little further with that and started to cut out a little bit more of the high carbohydrate vegetables. And started to go kind of more or less keto, right? Where I'd, be a lot more heavy on I think that was really when I went a lot more heavy on the high fat meat. Because previous to that, I was in this mindset, like every bodybuilder is, lean protein, right? Skinless, boneless chicken breast. Can't count how many of that. That was my main diet, and salmon. Skinless, boneless chicken breast and salmon. And then during the weekend when I was playing, when I was up skiing or backpacking or whatever, I'd always, have a burger with bun, and that was my cheat day back in my gym days, right? This was back before I bought a truck. This would have been around 2015 to 2017. After I bought the truck, I went to the oil field. I got unhealthy for 3 years. Then when I got back into the over the road, I ran for about a year and over the road before I found Kevin Rutherford on the radio, and kind of got me thinking about health again. I was out of the aggressively build the business stage. I was into okay, now it's time to get back into building the body back, because I can't live if we need to have life to be able to continue to truck. It's hard to truck when you're dead or 600 pounds. So coming back to that, once I cut out grains and seed oils, I saw some health benefits. Then I kind of got a little bit more into the high fat, realizing that fat was not the problem. It was all the carbohydrates and vegetable toxins. So then I started to get a little bit more fat, started to do more avocados, started to do more red meat rather than boneless chicken, right? And I saw some benefits there. So let's talk about the benefits. And then as that kind of progressed, I went into, 80-90% carnivore, focused on a lot more carnivore with a few cheats, which I call carnivore cheats would be like vegetables. If I have vegetables, that's a carnivore cheat, even though it's very, very good for keto. It's still a great diet, right? So I'm just going to talk about all the benefits, and it was kind of my progression through my diet over several years. So first of all, obviously belly fat went away. I still have a little bit of chub. I'm not all that worried about my belly fat getting any better. I'm healthy and I'm comfortable with where I'm at now. But I was pretty overweight, and I was not, I've said this before, but I got to the point where I never wanted to take my shirt off. And previous to that, I was in phenomenal shape. And every chance I got, I took my shirt off. Because what guy that has a six-pack doesn't want to show that shit off, right? Hell yeah, off comes the shirt, right? Well, I got to the point where I'm like, nope, shirt's staying on. Don't want to show that off. And so I was pretty unhealthy. Probably a lot of truck drivers would say I was still very, very healthy because I had not gained a ton of weight. But in my mind, I was fat, very unhealthy. I didn't feel good. I was lethargic. I would sleep for 8, 9 hours and still want more sleep, right? I'd wake up and I'd just be like, ugh, dragging. I was constantly bloated. Uh, I had tons of gas, which is common when you have lots of carbohydrates and vegetables in your diet, lots of, it all ferments in your gut and you have lots of gas, especially grains. I noticed a huge difference when I got rid of grains. Most of the gas went away. You still have some if you're eating vegetables because you have that fermenting of the vegetable matter in your gut, but a lot of the gas went away when you cut out grains. Then, as I got into a little higher fat, I noticed joint pain going away. Knee pain that I did a lot of backpacking, a lot of jogging, and my knees would always hurt. I had what they call there's a term for it. It is IT band syndrome, and a lot of runners get it. There's an IT band. There's a big ligament that runs down from your hip to your outside of your knee. And when I was backpacking, that would kill me. It was like this constant pain on this tendon because that tendon is getting overworked. The experts say it comes from just an awkward gait. Apparently, I don't walk properly. Maybe, I don't know. And a lot of that went away when I brought in more fat. I think I still struggle with that. If I go like if right now I went on a 3 or 4 day backpacking trip, my knee would probably hurt right there because it's a problem with the way my muscle is. My buttocks is not big enough, and I rely on my knee more than my buttocks, and it's just an awkward gait. I think is what people have said. So I believe there's something there, but the higher fat content has helped that for sure. And that's not something I get on general day to day. That's something you get if you go backpacking for a week and you have an excess use of that ligament that you're not used to. So my belly fat went away, gas went away, bloating went away, joint pain went away. I had a lot of joint pain in my shoulders, my knees, my hips. From sitting down, driving all day long, your hips kind of get a little bit, stiff and sore. My back would be killing me constantly because I'm lifting tarps and doing my tarping job, but then sitting in the truck for hours on end. So it's like flatbedding is this, kind of this weird thing where you have aggressive activity at certain times, and then like today I'm on a long haul from Mississippi to Washington State. Well, 3, 4, 5 days in a row of just sitting in the truck like this here, and then I'll get to the other side and I'll be lifting and jumping up and down my flatbed. And so I was easily getting injured. My back could get injured. I'd jump off my trailer and stub something on my knee, and I'm just like constantly limping around. Felt like an idiot, and a lot of that went away. Well, I've said before, I don't injure myself very much anymore. I have been years since I've injured my back lifting my tarp. It used to happen fairly frequently. So I can't really explain why that happened, other than maybe my back and my muscle and my bones are more resistant to failure, I guess. I don't know. So that was a big improvement that I've noticed. Also, when I switched to carnivore, or mostly carnivore, I had more energy with less sleep. So now it's rare I get more than 7 hours of sleep, 6, 7 hours, 5 hours. I think last night I set the alarm. It was 5 hours and 43 minutes. It's fairly common that I run around 6 hours of sleep. I never need more than that. In fact, on the 34 resets, I'll sometimes try to sleep in, and I might sleep for 8 hours, and I just can't sleep anymore. So before, when I was on a lot of plant matter, I could sleep for a long time and keep sleeping, and I still woke up tired. And now it's like 6 hours of sleep, I'm good, and I wake up and I can run 14, 16, 18 hours solid without a nap, without nothing. Before, I remember this, lots of times I'd be on a long haul or something, and I'd have to pull over in the middle of the day and take a nap because I was just drained. Now that almost never happens. Um, so a lot more energy with a lot less sleep. My body seems to work better. I really feel like I'm in the gym very little. So far, on this 30-day carnivore challenge, I have been to the gym every weekend. So I've been to the gym 3 times. Weekend's coming. Weekend's tomorrow, so I'll probably get to the gym again tomorrow. I hope. We'll see. I'm on kind of a tight schedule on this one. But so 1 gym day per week is all I'm getting. And that's better than I have been doing. Normally it's like 3 times a month, maybe, sometimes 2 times a month in the gym. So I went from, years and years ago, getting to the gym every single day practically, to very, very little gym time at all. And I feel like my body's almost as good as when I used to be in the gym. I still have a little bit more chub than I used to. I have more fat on my body than I used to. I used to be very, very thin and lean. But I feel better. I think my body runs better with a little bit of fat on me. I don't think humans were designed to be super lean. I think we're supposed to have a little bit of fat on us. That is healthy, especially for women. Because a lot of your hormones gets produced from fat cells. So women need to run higher levels of fat. It's healthy. So anyway, so yeah, I think I feel better. I'm more clear mentally. I don't need all these breaks. I don't need all this rest time to reset. I don't really get in those times where I'm just drained and can't recuperate. I'm able to work harder. I'm able to drive my 11 hours a day and still focus on computer work for 2 or 3 hours a day and still get enough sleep, even with loading and unloading times where in truck driving, guys, if any, most of my channel viewers are probably truck drivers. So you know how it goes, guys. You load, you unload, you're sitting around at docks or you're tarping, and then you're driving 11 hours. Well, that's a 14-hour day, right? Maybe a 16-hour day if you've got a split sleeper in there. It's very common that we can get a 16-hour day legally with the split sleeper. And then you focus on the computer for a couple of hours, and that cuts you down to 3, 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep. That was unsustainable on a plant-based diet. But on a carnivore diet, you can do that over and over and over again and be okay with it. And your body doesn't reject it. It thrives on it. It loves it. So that's been a big help. Also, I can't believe this happened. And every carnivore does eventually report this. So it's not just me, guys. This is a thing. And I know everyone's going to say bullshit. But this is absolutely a thing. And if someone would have told me this 3 years ago, I would have said bullshit. So everyone's going to tell me bullshit, and I expect it. But I don't sunburn anymore. Like, and that does not come with carnivore. That comes with getting the seed oils out. When you get the seed oils out, your skin starts to heal the way it's supposed to heal. For some reason, seed oils damages your fat, and we see it in skin more than anything else. We see it in our skin. So when you get the seed oils out, now seed oils have a 600-day shelf half-life, they call it. I don't know what the hell that means other than it's a scientific term for it takes 600 days for your body to flush seed oils out. The damaging effects of it or something like that. So this is why it's not known, because very few people have gotten seed oils out of their body for 600 days, right? Now, I haven't gotten all seed oils out. and it's very difficult for humans to get all seed oils out. So I still have a little bit of skin problems when it comes to sun. Um, I'll still notice some sunburn effect, but dramatically reduced from what it used to be. I'll stay in the sun forever and I might get pink and I'll feel as though I have a burn, right? It'll actually burn like what we are used to it, but it won't peel. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I never peeled. So I think that it's because, when I'm out eating, when I'm out to eat, sometimes I'll go and get breakfast at Denny's or whatever, and I'll order 4 eggs and a T-bone steak. Well, they're going to cook the eggs in seed oil, right? I'll pat it off with a napkin, get as much oil as I can off the eggs, but you're getting some seed oil in. So I'm not fully off seed oil for 600 straight days, but I've gotten a lot of it out. I don't bring near as much in. And I've noticed the skin effect when it comes to the sun. And other people that are much, much more strict than I am have noticed that entirely, and they will say they don't burn anymore. And I can say that's true for me as well. I think that I do still burn, and if I was in the sun for like 8 hours straight without going into much of a tan, I would burn and I might even peel. But I can stay out for much longer, and I can have a very, very I can have an effect that feels like burn and it doesn't peel, which is odd. And I know everyone's going to call bullshit on me, and that's fine. You can call bullshit all you want. Get off seed oils for 600 days and see what happens. You won't burn. But it's so, how hard that is to get off seed oils for 600 days? That's almost 3 years, or that's almost 2 years. That's like 1.5 something years, right? 1 3/4 years. Pretty difficult to not have seed oils for that long. So that's why we don't know this. So I've also noticed that effect. And what we have to wonder is, just assume for a second that I'm correct about that skin thing. I know you're going to call bullshit all you want, but just assume for a second that I'm right. And everybody else that's carnivore is right, and everybody else that's reporting this is right, and all the science behind it, because there is now some science coming in about this. How bad is that for our body if our skin notices that? I mean, what other damaging effects does the seed oils have that we may not know? So yeah, those are the advantages or the benefits I've noticed from changing out my diet. And like I said, guys, a lot of those big changes was not something that came from strict carnivore. It was something that came from basically getting the crap out, getting the seed oils out, getting the grains out. Now, I'm going to do a video, guys, so stay tuned, follow the channel, whatever. I'm going to do a video because I've gotten some great comments. Thank you guys for all the comments that you've been leaving. I've gotten some really great comments, and I want to address some of those comments because a couple of them were really, really good comments, and I want to address them. But before I get into a couple of the comments that I wanted to do, and I'll just do a whole nother video on that, I wanted to talk about grains. So why is grains so damaging to the body? Because that's kind of my big thing. I'm not always going to be a strict carnivore. I've done it for bait. This is either day 29 or day 30. I'm really close to day 30. So I'll probably convert back out, especially if I go home. I'll have some ice cream or, maybe a baked potato or something. I'll still stay healthy, but I might not be on that strict 30-day carnivore challenge or whatever, right? But so I'm not real big on strict carnivore. What I'm big on is getting the grains out. I think grains are more damaging. Grains and seed oils are more damaging than any other foods. And when you think about it, if you don't eat a single grain, what does that accidentally get out of our diet? Twinkies, donuts, Little Debbie's. I mean, all the crap comes out accidentally when we cut out wheat, corn, soy, um, all these bad things. So there's now is if we just had, a good, you know, a good natural source of a grain. Camera died, guys. Let's assume there's a good natural source of grain that we could eat. Um, that probably wouldn't be all that horrible for you. It's all the processed crap that comes along with the grains, right? All the ingredients that goes into all the things that we love about grains. Um, but also, I think the biggest problem with grains is the fact that we humans have genetically altered them to be something completely different than what God intended grains to be. The natural form of wheat doesn't even exist anymore today. What we have is wheat, what we grow out here in the fields, corn, wheat, all the stuff that we're growing out here in Nebraska and Iowa did not exist. God didn't make that crop. We engineered it. Well, I think it's pretty easy to understand why that's killing us. So I get a lot of people that say, well, in the Bible times, we had wheat, we had bread, we had unleavened bread. We talk a lot about that in the Bible, and so anything God or whatever created can't be unhealthy. I agree with that, except for we don't have that anymore. There is such a thing called einkorn wheat, guys. Look it up. It's starts einkorn wheat. I can't remember how they spell it. I'll have to put a link up, but that is an ancient grain. It's not been screwed with by humans. It's been crossbred between other wheats, but that's just natural pollination crossbreeding. So it's fair. It's about as natural grain as we can get. A lot of people that even have celiac disease, extremely gluten sensitive, they are totally fine with einkorn wheat. Geez, that guy kind of cut me off there. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. So, I think if we could get the grains out that have been genetically altered, I think it would go. It would be huge. I think that's why we see Americans so unhealthy compared to like Europeans, because if you look at what the European food source is, it's much different than America. We have genetically altered everything for absolute max yield, max taste, max shelf life. Well, that's not max health. So, but even if we get the best source of grains, einkorn wheat, not using Roundup on our crops, right? Not, in other words, organic. I still think grains are problematic, even in the natural source, because they have very little nutrients. I call them a starvation food. And even if you look at the Bible and you read it and you understand what they were doing and you understand, like, wheat always, back even in those days, was a starvation food. It's not what you fed the people during the good times. It's what you fed the people during the bad times, because you could store the wheat in silos. It was a starvation food. And it was a supplement to the main food. So I don't think we as humans should be eating wheat other than in times of starvation. If we're in starvation and we can't afford beef, bacon, and eggs, then wheat will keep you alive until you're going to get unhealthy. Well, we can survive a few years on wheat until we get money back up and we can buy beef, bacon, and eggs. So that's my view on grains specifically. There are some better grains. I say rice is probably one of the better grains. I think it's been genetically altered less. Wheat's probably the worst because it's been genetically altered the most, in my opinion. Corn also has been very genetically altered. So I just think that the worst thing we can possibly eat is grains. Seed oils are horrible because it's highly processed. The chemical process to process those oils that come from vegetables, they call it vegetables. It's mostly soybean, right? Soybean oil, peanut oil, uh, what's the other one? Sunflower oil. It's not really the oil that comes out of the plant that's bad. It's the processing of it, all the chemicals that go into the processing of it that our body just can't handle. And it just destroys our fat cells and just awful on our skin, awful on everything. So anyway, guys, that is, I'll go ahead and end the video there because my camera's overheating, I think is why it keeps shutting off. But I will make another video. Stay tuned. I might attach it to the back of this one. I'm not sure. About some of the comments I got. I want to address them. Very, very good comments. And I think it's very important to talk about. So anyway, that is the benefits I've seen from mostly carnivore, getting the grains out, getting now even a lot of the vegetables out. Are vegetables healthy for you? They can be. They have some nutrition, but it's the bad things. Okay, I will say this before I end the video. Why is the carnivore diet so healthy? I don't believe that it's because meat is a superfood. I think it's because vegetables are so, it bombards our body with chemicals that aren't good. Some of the chemicals come naturally in the vegetable, but most of the chemicals we're trying to avoid isn't natural. It comes from the processing, the planting, the chemicals we spray on them to keep the pests down, and the chemicals we spray on them to on the fruit to keep the worms from eating them, all this stuff. So I think that is the reason why today the carnivore diet happens to be the most healthy diet. It's not because red meat is some sort of magic food. It has everything we need and nothing we don't. Fruit, vegetables have a lot of things we need and a lot of things that are very healthy for us, yet it comes along with poison and toxins. Some of the toxins come naturally in the product. Some of the toxins we spray on them and can't get out, or we plant into them, or we genetically alter into them. Well, that's harmful. So I think it's just a matter of getting the harmful crap out. And the reason why meat is so much less harmful, even though we still have the same processing crap going on, we're injecting cows full of all this, stuff to make them grow bigger and get bigger faster and all this stuff, and we're feeding them, all the crap. That's bad. But the cow or the sheep or whatever has the ability to process that through the stomach, and we don't get some of that. We don't get all of that in the meat. So the meat is polished and cleaned, I guess. So that's my personal opinion. I don't have any science behind that or nothing. That's what I believe. That's why I think the carnivore diet is accidentally more healthy than eating the vegetables that theoretically should be healthy. Yeah, but we have a bunch of crap on them that we can't get out, and that damages our body. And the animal polishes all that out and cleans all that out, and what we get in the meat is just nutrition. So anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. That's my opinion on it. Stay tuned for the next video, guys. I hope you guys are staying strong on the diet. Keep in mind, this channel is supposed to be encouraging truck drivers to stay strong on the diet, do things that we need to do to keep ourselves healthy on the road, because Americans are very, very unhealthy, and the worst of us are truck drivers for very good reason. We sit in a seat all day long, and we have to live out of truck stops. We don't have the ability to cook very well. We don't have the ability to store food very well. And so it's very difficult for truck drivers to stay healthy on the road. So hopefully you guys are staying strong. Hopefully you guys are dealing with the cravings that everyone gets, especially on long hauls, guys. I have to say the long hauls are the worst for me. I would love to grab a snack and snack on it while I'm driving for 11 hours a day, but I'm trying to stay strong, trying to keep the cravings out, trying to stay healthy. So anyway, you guys like and subscribe to the video if this is the type of content you like, and I'll see you in the next one.